Alright, so for your project, so what you're going to need to get it going is some sort of dish to hold all your bolts. You're going to need a ratchet, you're going to need a 10mm socket, a wobbly joint if you've got one, if not, a short extension, and then a 6-inch extension, a pair of pliers to get the clamps off, torque wrench in inch-pounds if you've got one, and this was a 1/4-inch drive, so I needed a 1/4-inch extension as well as a 1/4-inch 10mm. A couple of scrapers to help you clean up some of the grease off the parts. Got a 10mm nut driver, and once I get everything loose, I use a nut driver to get the bolts on and off. I used a screwdriver to clean out some of the grooves with a rag. I used my brake tool to get the spark plug seals off, and a little spring clamp to hold back the throttle cable, and a rubber mallet to knock the valve loose. And that's really about all you're going to need for this project. Okay, the first thing you want to do is take off the 5 10mm bolts that hold down the cover. Next thing that you're going to want to do is disconnect your accelerator cable and, if equipped, cruise control cable, and set that aside. What I did is I used a small clamp to hold the cable away from where I'll be working, and as you can see, the oil leak looks like it's somewhere in this area. There's a lot of oil that leaked up on here since I changed the oil last weekend. So it's got to be a pretty nice size leak, and hopefully this new gasket will take care of it and stop that leak. Next, you're going to want to remove these two spring clamps that hold the PVC and the breather hoses with a pair of pliers. Just squeeze them and walk them back. Once you've got the clamps off, next thing you're going to want to do is pull off the hoses so the hoses are free. I'm using a 3-in-1 knife, and it just slides them right off. Next thing you're going to want to do is remove the spark plug wires, and then just rock them back and forth, a little bit of upward pressure, and they'll pop right out. The plug on the driver's side, the last plug over here, you may have to disconnect it from the distributor in order to get this out. It's a little short wire. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is take off the upper timing belt cover. It's held on with 4 bolts. There's one right behind the power steering pump, and then there's one directly behind it here, and then one on the bracket that holds the cover on, and then this one right here. And this one right here is number 4. Okay, the next thing you want to do is remove the valve cover bolts on this version of the Hyundai Airs 12. And since they do have a torque, the torque recommended when you torque them down is from the center out, stitching back and forth. So whenever I loosened them up, I did the same thing. I did the opposite. I started at the outside and switched off sides and worked my way to the center until they were all loose. And once they're all loose, it's just a matter of pulling them all off. Alright, this is the fun part. A lot of times these things are hard to get off. You can try lifting it from this corner here and seeing if it'll come up. If it feels like it's really hard on there and stuck on, best thing to do is get a rubber mallet and give a couple of taps, gentle taps, nothing real hard, and you'll hear it. It'll sound hollow like that right there. And then just gently work it up. Alright, I'll fess up now, because if any of you know about mechanics, I loosened it, but I didn't remove this center bolt when I was trying to get this off earlier, and I couldn't figure out why. And it always helps if you take all the bolts off. Okay, I found the source of my oil leak, and it's pretty obvious. You see the big gap here to here on the seal, and this seal is pretty brittle, and that's not going to hold anything, so it's time to change it out. Okay, the kit comes with new grommet seals for the spark plugs, for the spark plug tubes, and wasn't too sure how I was going to get them out. These things were completely brittle and broken. I did see that they have a metal ring underneath, so I tried a number of different things to pop them out, and what I found most useful was this brake tool that I happen to have, and I know it's probably not going to go as smooth as I hope, so bear with me. Comes out in pieces, and then it's what I did is I just gave it a little it's not pretty. You can probably find a way to get it out a little different if you don't have one of these, but it works, and that's all I need. So if you find something that works without breaking any of the plastic valve cover, that's all you need. Just make sure you get all the little plastic pieces out before you put it on, because they are hard and they will cause damage. So next thing is going to be is to seat these back down, and just a matter of setting them in there and pressing them down. I'm going to clean this up, and we'll see in a few minutes. Okay, I've got the valve cover cleaned up on both sides. Got all the nasty little pieces of the broken seals off. I replaced the seals here for the spark plug tubes, pressed on the new gasket, and basically all it is I started over here on the hard part, which is where the timing belt is, and I just started in one hole and worked my way all the way around, pressed it all in to make sure that everything was seated correctly, made sure that the engine head was cleaned off for all the mating surfaces, and now we're ready to put her back on. Okay, it's time to put the bolts back on. So I've set them in there, and what you want to do is you want to start in the center, and you want to work your way crisscross from center out, so that the cover will sit down evenly. You don't want to start on one end and squeeze it all the way over, because it'll end up pinching something along the way. So all I'm doing is I already started here, 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 and here. Now I'm going to this one. All I'm doing is I am running the bolt down to where I feel resistance. And then I'll go over here And do the same thing over here. And then I'll come over here, do the same thing. And then this guy right here. And this guy right here. And all I'm doing is I'm running the bolt down to where I feel resistance and no more. And this guy here. And the center one on this side. And then the center one here. So the torque specs on this are 72 to 84 inch-pounds, not pounds. Big difference. So as you run it down by hand, you're going to notice that as you go around, the point where you left off last is going to be a little bit looser. You just keep running it down till you feel resistance, and then what you're going to end up doing in a moment is torquing it down. Okay, so I've snugged the valve cover down onto the head, and the way that you do this, since it's a gasket and you have a torque pattern and you have a torque specification, the way I did that is I started back here with this one and I tightened it down to where there was resistance. You can see I'm just barely holding it, and then I came over here and then I came over here. I'm just going crisscross back and forth to every bolt, and all I'm doing is I'm just snugging it down to where it's finger tight. Forget your center ones. And I had to do it a number of times to get to this point, and now I'm going to torque it. I'm going to use the same pattern that I just did, and the torque on this is 72 to 84 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. It's a 1/4 inch drive torque wrench. I'm going to start with this one, and I'm starting at 60 pounds. And I'm using the same pattern that I used to snug them down. And you can hear the torque wrench click. That was 60. And I'm going to go 74 and leave it at that. I don't want to get it too tight. And I'm following the same torque pattern. If you don't have a foot-pounds torque wrench, I've seen them sold at places like Harbor Freight for as low as $10. And I know you get what you pay for in tools, but seriously, if you don't use it that often and you want to torque all your bolts down to the same torque, can't go wrong with $10. So now the next step is to reinstall the spark plug boots, reinstall the valve cover, and do that in the reverse order of how you take it apart. Okay, it's time to button everything up now. Now that you've got the valve cover torqued back on in the crisscross pattern, that's what I did, is I reinstalled the throttle cable to its mounting bolts. I installed the timing chain cover. One thing I will let you know is that it may be easier to pop this off as well. It just allows you to slide it in. Also, remember that the 2 bolts in the front are different than the 2 bolts in the back. Mine were referenced by, they were painted white at the factory. If yours aren't, just make sure that the short bolts are in the front. So we've got the spark plug wires back in also, and now we're all set to put the cover on, and that will end this project. Hopefully the leak will stop, and I hope you have good luck with yours. Talk to you later.